Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, their habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, welcome back. It is your host, Cesar Espino. You can find me at www.CesarRespino. And welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Langen. How are you, Crystal?
Fabulous. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And before we dive in, I want to just give our listeners a little bit more about you so they can get to know you before we start the interview.
Perfect.
So, Crystal, she is a keynote speaker, international best-selling author, and a woman's business and personal development coach. She stands for pleasure based on business principles for modern women, and she runs her business based on the pillars of pleasure, strategy, messy action, and embodied mindset. Awesome. Great. So before we get to all of that, because I definitely want to know about that, I want to know about your background and your history and where were you born? Where do you come from? Give us a little bit of your background.
Oh, amazing. Yes. I was born in Salinas, California.
Okay.
And I was born to two teenagers. So my dad was 15, my mom was 16. So high school sweethearts. And now I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I have 3 kids of my own, little ones at home. Yeah. I'm married and I love running my own business from home.
That's awesome. I can kind of relate to that. I had my first daughter at the age of, or my only daughter actually, at the age of 16. So I am also a teen dad. So I know what that is. How was it? I'm just curious. How was that for you as a kid? Was that easy or difficult for you?
It was very interesting
Okay.
Because my parents both lived at home still, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And each household had its own way of running,
mm-hmm.
and they were quite different. So for me, I think that actually is a benefit because I can see both sides of things a lot.
Yeah.
And then my dad, he's such a nurturer. He picked me up every morning, took me to school. This was back when they had nurseries at school.
Yeah.
So he could take me to school with him, drop me off at the nursery, have lunch with me, pick me up after school, bring me back to my mom's house. So I really enjoyed that. And my dad, he just was really still childlike.
God.
And so that's how he raised me to be. And so I think I'm also really childlike because of that.
Yeah. Well, definitely, I can see the energy though, right? You have a lot of energy too, which is definitely good. And I'm sure we'll get to that when we talk about the things you do right now, except that's actually something good that can embody that on people's lives or when you're coaching people, right?
Yes.
So, that's awesome. And in terms of college and things like, do you go to college or did you have an idea of what you wanted to do when you grew up?
Oh, I think I had a hunch what I wanted to do, but I was too scared at that time. But I did go to college. I was the first on my maternal side to graduate high school for the women and to go to college. And then on my dad's side, my aunt, his sister, my dad were the first to go to college. And then I was the next generation. So I'm really proud of that.
So are you practicing what you study or did you, or are you doing something totally different?
Oh my gosh, what an amazing question. Actually, I somewhat am, because I went to school for instructional technology,
Okay.
which is the study of teaching adults through the use of technology. So it's almost like corporate training in a way.
Got it.
Which
Yeah.
was a totally obscure, like I think there was 11 of us in the program, and you have to normally get a master's to get that, but the school I went to had it, in the only one in the nation that had it for a bachelor's.
Yeah. And were there any major things that you feel like you had to overcome growing up, to teen parents, and also just kind of growing up in the current society that you lived in? Did you have to overcome any major obstacles, or things were pretty falling into place as they should?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would just say that in Salinas, there was and still is a lot of lower income in that area. And my grandparents had to work multiple jobs. My grandfather, he had to, I think, even at some point work like 4 jobs.
Wow.
To get enough money to bring us out of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that, and he worked really, really hard. And a lot of my family members were in poverty type situations, involved in gangs, shootings, a lot of scary things. And we would go visit aunts and uncles and cousins, and I would be told, if you hear a gunshot, like duck, those kinds of things. So there was an awareness of it, but also because of the opportunity that my grandparents did, they were able to move us into a little bit of a safer area within the city.
Got it. Did you ever get dragged into those influences, or were you influenced by any of those, negative aspects of life, whether it was gangs, drugs, or any of that stuff?
Actually, I was not, but I was a loner at school. I had like one friend. I found out later she did sell drugs, but like I really didn't have friends. I kind of was scared all the time. There were fights in the hallways like every single day, and I just kind of like kept to myself and didn't make eye contact a lot and things like that.
Yeah, how did you overcome that? Because I know there's got to be people, right, that possibly are listening to us, or maybe even their kids, they might be going through something similar. Even now, and I consider that to be, to an aspect, and not necessarily what happened to you, to an aspect, there's a lot of bullying in schools, and there's a lot of bullying in different aspects, right? And people tend to seclude themselves, or, they're loners. And a lot of times that could be an impact to that person. So how would you overcome something like that to move away from that and continue to push forward in life?
Yeah. So one thing about me too is I moved around several times. And
Gotcha.
So the experience in Salinas was different from other experiences. But in Salinas, what kept me from getting into depression and bullying and all of that was the way my father raised me to be very independent. And that was just drilled into me from the very beginning, because he was super rebellious and he was always getting in trouble and he was doing drugs, and different, and partying and getting out and about. So he kind of had this idea of, if I teach Crystal to use her voice and to be independent and to say no, then that's the tool I'm going to give her. And so that has carried me through my whole life. This idea of trusting my inner voice, and I know what's best for me. And it was lonely. I'm not going to lie. It was lonely. I did feel sad that I didn't have friends groups and people to hang out with all of the time. And the way I've overcome that as an adult, because I kept saying, it's going to be over when high school's over. I just have to get through high school. I just have to get through. I know college is different. I know it, because I know college has people from everywhere. It's not just the people in the town that you're with. It's people from all over the world. different states. This is a new experience. If you can just get there, it'll all change. So, and that happened for me. And then once I went into college, and then after college as an adult, I decided I'm going to choose my friends. I'm not going to join a friends group. I am going to create my own friends group.
Yeah. And that's kind of a lesson there, I think, is you're choosing and you're bringing that power back to you, and you're giving yourself that power to say, I get the ability to choose. I have the power to choose, versus sometimes we end up giving away that power and looking for that acceptance, or looking for somebody to say, take me, come over here kind of thing, right? So I love that about you, that you ended up taking that power and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to choose my friends to do this because it benefits me, right? Which is awesome. Now,
thank you.
Yeah. Now, in terms of college, right? I think a lot of people might have this in mind, that they go to college and then they want to, get out of college and work for a company and make a lot of money and maybe retire with that company. Was that the case with you when you came out of college, or you ended up going to your own business right after college?
Yeah, I took like some sort of admin type of job out of college. I didn't use my degree. There was a little bit of it,
yeah,
but it wasn't directly related to my degree. And I just said, you know what? I want to work. I will start anywhere. And I am a big believer in like finding out all the things, including how to file. Like, I need to know how to file papers. I need to know how to data entry. I need to know how to answer the phone. How can I help you? And so I just did that. And I just said, I need a job. Let's work. Let's do this thing. Let's start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I have this practice of saying yes until it doesn't feel good anymore. And so as long as it feels good, I'm going to say yes and keep going. And as soon as it doesn't start to feel good, I'm going to pivot.
Wow. I love that, actually, because a lot of people tend to turn away the opportunity the minute they hear no the first time, and you continue to push forward. I really love that. So at which point do you take because you actually now have your own, coaching business, right? At what point did you decide to say, you know what, I need to venture out into my own and not work for somebody else?
There was sort of a series of events. So I had a corporate job. I was doing really well. And then I got diagnosed with a tumor on my spine, and I was 25. And so I had to go to Stanford, to the top doctors in the country for this, to get this specialized surgery, because the tumor was so close to my spinal column that there was risk of paralyzation. So I needed to go there and get the surgery. And there was a whole intense situation that happened there, which almost led to a near-death experience for me. And through that near-death experience, I learned again to trust my inner voice, because I had to save my own life while all, the doctors and the nurses were running around saying, I can't give you any more pain medicine. I can't do anything. You need to work your magic so I can figure out what's happening to you. You're about to have a heart attack, cardiac arrest, like all this stuff was happening. They couldn't figure it out. So I had to bring my pain level from 10 down to 0 by the power of me.
Wow.
And so there's a whole thing there, but I did it. Once I did that, then they could bring the X-ray machine in. They could take the blood work. They could do all the things they needed to do to diagnose the situation, which was I was drowning from the inside because my lungs were filling up from fluid from the surgery.
Wow.
So then they drained me and right.
So how were you previous to this event in life, were you already practicing something deep down on how to control your mind, or I mean, it must have been something in inner self, right? Inner love, inner care. I believe a lot on the mind. The mind is very powerful, and so if you tell the mind to do certain stuff, it definitely is going to flourish. So it seems like to me that again, you had to bring yourself down from a 10 to a better lower level. Did you practice that prior, or how did that come all into play for you to be able to do that? Because I can already hear, me being on the operational table and all these voices. I mean, I'll be going crazy.
Yes. Oh, I love this question so much. It's perfect. So yes, there was definitely this practice of, in chaos, I can still be calm, right? In a gang fight school, I can still be calm. Moving around several times, I can still be calm. Being a beautiful woman, having men look at me in a certain way, I can handle it and still be calm. So there was opportunities to practice this throughout my life. But as soon as I got that diagnosis of the tumor, I had like maybe 3 weeks to prepare. And instead of falling apart, I took immediate action and I got all the support I needed. I saw a hypnotherapist. I saw a therapist. I got like mind body work. I went and saw the doctor and said, tell me everything you're going to do to me during the surgery. I want to know the steps. For me, information is power. Like, even though it felt a little scary to know, oh, they're going to, break your ribs and they're going to do this, that, and the other to get to the tumor. I still needed that information, and I could tell my body, guess what? This is what's going to happen to you. So don't freak out when they start to saw on your ribs, right?
Wow. Yeah.
They're going to cut you open. Don't freak out when this happens to you, right? And so I got multiple levels of support, including throwing myself a dinner party the night before surgery. Not a, oh my gosh, I'm so scared, I'm going to die dinner party. I am so strong, I am celebrating my life dinner party. Yeah. And I made myself even a poster. And I said, can you hang this poster in my hospital room for me when I wake up? I want to see this poster. I want all the doctors to sign it. And I just really set myself up to go into, and I also said, these are the people allowed in my room with me before and after the surgery, as far as family members. So I really created this whole experience from strength and sovereignty and belief that I can handle anything and I will get through this.
Yeah, I really love that. And I got to tell you, that's something that, again, when we talked about being able to overcome something major, you definitely did that. And I love how you framed that. A lot of times comes down to, how do you frame something? How are you looking at something from a different lens, right? And you were doing that. Instead of freaking out, I'm sure there was a little bit of that fear. Yeah, you didn't let the fear take over the opportunity, right? And the opportunity for you was, everything's going to be good. You're going to come out perfectly fine out of this operation. You're going to be, more excited than ever. And you didn't let that fear, that worry, that stress take the best out of you. Instead, you actually prepare yourself for it. And I love the fact that you took a party for yourself before that. It's like really celebrating that. That really would put your mind in that positive state of mind that you need to be able to face something as big as this. So that's very powerful. So hopefully the viewers and the listeners are taking note of that, because that's something that you can do in anything in life. Obviously we're talking about an operation here, but it could be if you're freaking out and you want to make a couple of calls, you're in sales and you're afraid of picking up the phone and making that call. Just prepare yourself and really just go through that process, which is exactly what you did. So
correct. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So then that was kind of definitely, that's a point, a turning point that would definitely shift your focus. And so that's what made you, do your own coaching business. That was part of it.
Well, that was one of the series of events. Yeah. So that got me into this actual state of, I survived and I kind of have something to prove, right? I kind of, there was a little bit of a proving after that, which like wasn't the best energy, but I was like, I can do anything. So I quit my job and I got a new job in San Francisco corporate, and I worked my way up, and I was doing the grind, like commuting and working 60 hours a week. And I was the number one salesperson in the international company. And then I had another medical crash because I was operating from this proving, pushing state. And I was happy. That's the thing too. I was like, I love my job. I don't see anything wrong here. But I couldn't get pregnant for 3 years. And then once I did, I had 3 miscarriages in a row. Wow. And then once I get pregnant with the baby that is, now 10 years old, I got put on medical leave for high risk pregnancy. And then I had him, and I fractured my tailbone during his delivery and the other things. So I got on extended medical leave for that. But as soon as I had that baby, everything changed. I was like, this child needs me. I saw his personality type, and I know other family members that have this personality type, and I needed to be home for this child.
Wow. Yeah.
I needed to be home for him. So I quit my dream corporate job. I was making so much money.
Yeah.
We sold our 5-bedroom house. We moved into a 2-bedroom rental. Wow. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. This child needs me. The house, the money, whatever. So I did that. I have 3 kids now. And being the woman that I am, once I had that second baby, I was like, oh, I need to like actually also work. Like, I love being a stay-at-home mom. This is amazing, but I need to work. And so since then, I've dabbled in business and finally landed on coaching. And I know that this is my purpose as far as contributing to society in a bigger way through my work.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's 2 things that I want to point out that you mentioned, and I think they're critical. Number one, you said the house, the money, all of that is kind of secondary. That's kind of more or less what you mentioned. And one thing that I want to add to that is that there's one thing that we as people have, and we're all in this journey, or we're taking this journey on this ride called life, right? And the one thing that we cannot get back is life. And I want to be able to make sure that we put it out there, right? Life is one thing that we cannot get back. So same thing as you saying, I need to take care of my son. I need to be there. I need to be the mother that he needs me to be there now. You're looking out for that life, the 5-bedroom house or the mansion, whatever you have, all that money, you can lose all of that and come back in a year or 2 or 3 or a few months, whatever, and get that all back again. You lose the life, that's it. Game over, right? And sometimes people don't see that. They focus too much on the materialistic part of that. And so I think that was a good point that you brought that, because you went through it, you lived it, and you literally downsized big time, left a good paying job, forget the money, forget the house, let me take care of this life that I need to take care of, which is awesome. So that's critical. The second thing is finding, you said the contribution to society and my purpose, right? And I think that's critical too. Again, I don't feel like we're here in this world just to take up space and take up energy or be one more human being on earth. I believe that we all have a bigger purpose. I believe that we have more than what we see in front of us, right? And so for me, I call it my highest intention. My highest intention is to be able to help out as many people as I can, reach to many more people, and be able to empower them and inspire people. And among other stuff, I have a whole list of things that I want to be able to do for others. You are also said, I found my purpose. I found that the thing that I want, which is be able to give back and contribute to society. So I think that's also critical. We through our journey have to be able to find that, because it's beyond, bigger than just ourselves, in my opinion. I don't know, if you want to elaborate more on that.
Yeah. And for your first point, it's like, I sold that house and quit the job. I was scared.
Yeah.
I did it, but I knew it was the right thing. So I did it terrified. A lot of people would say that's crazy.
Yeah.
But my dad, he's one of my rocks. He said, Crystal, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And I was like, oh. And I've questioned myself many times, but I also know it was the right choice. And then to your second point, I fully believe that. And I think part of my path to getting to this place of my knowing that I've arrived to what I want to do right now is continuing to follow my yes, and that feeling that feels good. And this feels good, and this feels good, and I'm going to keep going. And this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to pivot a little bit, right? And if I'm scared, I'm still going to pivot, right? Pivot through the fear. And trusting my inner voice and trusting myself to lead me to the place where I am now. And so I just really feel that a big part of my purpose here is to help liberate women's voices and bodies, and to do that in their lives, but also in their businesses.
Yeah. And so do you only work with women? That's your primary focus right now, women?
Correct. Yes.
Awesome. Tell me about your business. So you run this on 4 different pillars. Yeah, 4 different pillars. So tell me about the different pillars and their significance, and what is the ultimate purpose of each one of the pillars?
Yeah. So I mentioned liberating women's bodies and voices, right? So we've got embodied mindset, right? And so mindset for me as a practice, this is the practical thing that I do. The way that I work on my mindset is journaling. I find writing in my journal, and I find really being real about my fears. And I've mentioned fear a couple of times, right? Because people often look at me and they say, you have such a positive attitude. You're always happy. And I'm like, well, but also I have a lot of fears, you guys. I have a lot of fears. I just don't let them run the show. So I admit them. I feel them. I freak out in them, and I move through them. And then I don't make my decisions from that fear place. And so journaling really helps me. So I write down, I'm afraid that I'm going to not show up for my clients, or I'm going to totally piss someone off someday and they're going to fire me. Like, I write that stuff out. And then I say, actually, the truth is, if someone fires me, if I mess up, I can handle it. I will do everything I can in my power to clean it up. And then I will do the work I need to do to learn from this experience, right? And for me, writing that and doing the mindset work isn't enough, because I feel when my fears come up, I feel intensity in my body. I feel vibrations, different things happening. So I need to dance, or I need to shake, or I need to do weird things, right? To move the energy in my body, right? So that's my embodied mindset.
And I'm add to that a little bit. And you're right. A lot of the things that we do is all energy. You see, there's a lot of energy flowing through your body. So you definitely have to, some of that fear, right, is energy. So you got to be able to let that fear go someplace else, like get out of your system. And I love what you mentioned is that again, you have to be able to accept or acknowledge, meaning not accept, acknowledge, that fear, understand that fear, yet do not allow that fear to overpower you or make the decisions for you. And rather than drowning on that fear, just acknowledge that and go through it, right? And just fight through that. And I love that, because again, a lot of people tend to get lost on that. They just take the fear for what it is, and that's it. They get paralyzed and they don't move forward, right? And so I love the principles and the things that you do and the ideas, which hopefully the people that are listening to us can definitely take that into practice.
Yeah, exactly. So the next pillar is acting before you're ready, or messy action, right? So acting before you're ready. If you're going to wait until the fear is gone, or if you're going to wait until you perfect things, or if you're going to wait until you know all the things, then you're going to be thinking, making your list, making your plans, but I'd rather try something and get immediate feedback from my people. This is working for me. This isn't working for me. So taking the action, throwing myself out there. I call this vulnerable leadership also, right? I'm leading from a place of, I have questions. I don't know everything. I enjoy conversations and feedback. And if I'm doing something wrong and harmful, you let me know. So this is part of taking messy action and trusting yourself, right? So don't wait. Do it now.
Yeah. I love
and
that.
learn as you go.
Yeah. Right? Good. No, I love that.
Yeah. And then I think you need some strategy in there, right? You need some strategy, right? And we all know I think there's a million strategy courses out there. But for me, with strategy, the best strategy is the one that works with who you already are. So if your strategy is sleeping until 11 and then starting your workday, then that's your strategy. If your strategy is, I need to chill out for 2 hours a day and watch Netflix to recover and replenish my body, then that's your strategy. So you can work tomorrow full force, right? So I think you need some strategy, but it needs to be in alignment with just who you naturally are and not forcing yourself into a strategy, somebody else's strategy.
Right. And do you, in terms of the strategy and letting your clients or the people just kind of use the strategy that works for them, do you also give advice of maybe perhaps what are some things that could be good for them or not? Like I can think of, like, if I watch TV, and that's part of my strategy, maybe continue to watch TV, yet change the type of programs that I'm watching, right? Because I believe that, whatever you see, hear, or touch, or anything of that stuff, it's all part of the programs that go into your mind, right? So do you also advise, or at least give suggestions on shifting those things? Still do the action, but just shift it to something different?
Yeah. So I would want to know, like, specifically with the individual, how is what you're watching affecting you? Is it a problem?
Gotcha.
And if it is, then it's probably not the TV. It's probably a pattern that's showing up multiple places in your life. So I am definitely the type of coach that if there are patterns in your life that are keeping you from reaching what you desire, let's take a look at them, and I will call you out on them, and then we will work through that with you. So it's, it's really like about where are the things?
Yeah.
Where are the things? And then that leads into my next pillar, which is pleasure, right? So bringing pleasure into strategy, bringing pleasure into business and life. What makes you feel good, right? So if eating that piece of chocolate makes you feel good, and you do a better Facebook Live, you create better content, let's get you that chocolate. If doing other pleasure, it can be anything, right? Whatever your version of that is, when you feel good, when you're coming from this place of aliveness, when your senses are more awakened, whether it's taste, touch, sight, whatever's delighting to you, you just feel more alive. And then you just bring that into your business. You become more magnetic. You become more clear. You become more of yourself. So right. Yeah, I really believe in that.
No, that's good. And in terms of pleasure, is that obviously whatever brings joy to you, right? Or that kind of aspect. So let me ask you this: with the different pillars and your experience and going through the things you've gone through in life, how would you define success?
Wow, what a question. I sleep well at night.
Okay.
I sleep well at night. I feel comfortable in my body. I feel comfortable with my decisions. And again, my mindset is so on point that I feel like I can handle anything. And so I worry a lot less. And so that feels successful to me. And it's pleasurable for me to live in the town that I live in and in the house that I live in, and to have the type of office and environment that I live in. That is pleasurable to me. And so when I feel the most successful is when I feel in my most pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good, and I've asked this before, and definitely it comes down to a lot of people that have not gone through maybe what I consider to be self-development or that self-love, self-care, would always tie the success to a monetary value. And although that could be success, I think success is beyond that. Is what you just described. Is what is success to you? Is what brings me joy? Cannot, might be money, might be that. Except is beyond that, right? It's not just the monetary aspect. Is more than that. And so I think that's critical to understand, because when you can find true happiness and you can find that true success, really everything else kind of falls into place, right? You start attracting different things. It will come back to that negative and positive energy. You start attracting all this positive energy, and things start falling into play. So I have a couple more questions for you before I let you go. And let's talk about, you have you talk a lot about public speaking, or you do speaking, right? What do you speak? What are the subjects you talk about?
I speak about trusting your inner voice.
Okay.
And you knowing what's best for you. I talk about embodiment and pleasure for women, pleasure-based business for women as well. I talk about doing things afraid. Mm-hmm. And I talk about the power that lives within women's bodies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is where life is sourced from.
Yeah.
Women's bodies. And then I talk about women and money, because I think it's really important for women to be making money and to learn how to receive money and to learn how to make money and to learn how to make sales and run businesses. I think it's very important for women to claim that for themselves if that's what they desire and brings them pleasure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Your international best-selling book, what is the name of your book?
Yeah, so I'm a contributing author to the 5 things every mom should know.
Nice.
And so one of the things that brings me great pleasure and sets me up for a successful business is this is going to sound so off topic, but it's so on topic, is having a closet. For a woman, having a closet that supports you. So the viewers that can see me, you can see that I am wearing my best self, right? Yeah. I've got my adornments. I've got my beautiful colors. I've got my beautiful red lipstick. It feels so good for me to honor my body in this way. And when I can go to my closet sanctuary, I can get this like dose of experience. It's not going to church, but it's like going to church, and it's accessible for me. Every single morning I go to my closet. Okay. Some people, they go to church like once a week, right? I go to my closet every day and I get nourished there. Yeah. Right? So I think that's a tool that women can use if it feels right for them.
Yeah. And I think is good to always embody that self-love, self-care, right? And a lot of times we tend to forget that, and we're waiting for or expecting somebody else to edify us or give us that, comment or tell us, how well you're doing today, when really the person you should be doing it is to yourself, right?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So, and so I'm assuming that's what inspired you to write the book, the idea of getting that message out to different women and in that aspect.
Yes.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Okay, cool. If people wanted to work with you, where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Yes. So I have a website. It's crystallangen.com. crystallangen.com. You can also friend me on Facebook. I do have a private Facebook group for women. We do a lot of healing work in there. I'm very, I manage this space with a lot of care. So this is a tight, safe container that I run for women. And also, if you are looking for a coach, I am accepting 3 one-on-one clients at this time, and then I'll be sold out.
Awesome. Okay. And then one thing you mentioned that I'm reading here in my notes is you said, you know what is best for you at all times. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. That is what I believe. I believe there is this voice, there is this knowing, there is this gut. I call it, this is your pleasure center.
Okay.
It knows. It's that little voice that knows. And if you can take the time to do things to connect to that voice, to nurture that connection to that voice, and to trust that voice, it knows what's best for you.
Yeah, I love that. Crystal, you've given us a lot of great tips. So let's see if we can give us one more tip. If you can tell our listeners and viewers, what is one thing they can start doing today that will help them overcome anything in their life, what would that be?
Don't be afraid to take up space, including how I just modeled for you. What is the message that wants to come through right now? I'm going to take a minute to answer that and give you an answer that feels true for me. So taking a breath, allowing yourself that moment. So don't be afraid to take up space, including silent space. Yeah.
I love it. Crystal, I really had a great time talking to you and been having you on the show. Is there anything else you wanted to share before I let you go?
Oh, I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. You're so engaging. You ask really powerful questions.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your ability to listen and ask great questions. So thank you. It makes the whole thing so wonderful.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So once again, Crystal, thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure you check us out, subscribe, like, share, put some comments, check out Crystal, get her book, and just stay tuned for the next episodes at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Have a good time. Bye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you tuned in to this podcast. You can find me at Spreaker.com, where you can like and subscribe. And to learn more about myself and my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at Facebook under Cesar R. Espino. Once again, thanks for joining me. I am looking forward to having you at the next episode, and know that you truly can overcome anything.